Okay, I did just do a short minute video about some stats that my clinic manager came across, or that she's been working on. As you all know, I have decided to stand as a candidate for the Scottish elections on May the 6th to become an MSP, because I feel that the beauty and aesthetics industry hasn't got a true, authentic voice speaking for them in Parliament, and we're getting the short end of the stick as regards our industry. No mask, no treatment, etc. Very little funding, and even though we were allowed to open, we've been severely restricted. But because although we were severely restricted, there was still no funding, like there was for other businesses that were severely restricted. And so I tasked my clinic manager with getting all the names, emails, etc. of local hair salons, beauty salons, aesthetic clinics across the Highlands and Islands. And she just got back to me about half hour ago with some frightening statistics, and they are frightening. They're gobsmacking. In less than 6 months, I'm not talking about 6 months ago, I'm talking about in the past 6 months to now, 137 beauty and hair salons have been forced to close and not reopen due to COVID and what's been going on over the past year. And that's just the tip of the iceberg. We haven't physically gone through all the hundreds and hundreds of hair salons and beauty clinics and aesthetic clinics that there are in the Highlands and Islands, because it's such a huge geographical area. And so that's just the tip of the iceberg of the ones that have been forced to close. And that is horrendous. Those businesses, those hairdressers and beauty and aesthetic practitioners who have fought so hard to get their qualifications, run their businesses, and through no fault of their own, they've been forced to close. And many of them have been forced to close because of COVID, but also because they've been receiving no help from the government. And, when, yes, we were allowed to open, but within 2-3 weeks of opening in Scotland, we were then told that we couldn't do treatments if the mask had to be removed, which takes away a good 90% of clinic business in Scotland for beauticians and hair salons. And as I've just said, in the last 6 months, that's the 6 months to now, we've just scraped the top of the iceberg with our research. But so far, and we've been compiling a list of hairdressers, beauticians, and aesthetic practitioners and their businesses across the Highlands and Islands, and we as I said, we're just scraping the top of it, because the Highlands and Islands is a very large geographical area with a good 4, 5, 6,000, if not more, clinics and salons across the Highlands and Islands. And we've not even scratched 1,000 yet that we've been researching. We were looking for all their names and business names, emails, websites, etc. But what we have found whilst we're doing that research is that in less than 6 months to now, 137 salons have been forced to close in the Highlands and Islands. And that's just the start of it, of what we've found out. And I'm horrified. Those hairdressers, those beauticians, those practitioners have fought for years to get their qualifications, to get their courses, paid out a fortune in getting qualified, paid out a fortune in rents and advertising and taxes, etc. And they've been shut down. And they've been shut down through no fault of their own. COVID has put us into lockdowns, and the worst bit about it is, whilst they've been put into lockdown, some businesses were able to access the funding, but a lot of these salons, were mobile or were chair renting, and they've had no support. And then when we were allowed to open, we got told within weeks that we couldn't do any treatments if we had to remove the mask. So in other words, any treatment from here down, so no waxes, no fillers, no facials, no nothing. And that is approximately 90% of a salon's income when it comes to treatments. And although we were restricted and told, no, you cannot do it, so that's a severe restriction, we didn't come under any of the severe restrictions funding. Other industries did, but our industry, even though severely restricted, didn't. And that was the final nail in the coffin for those businesses, those salons, those beauticians, those aesthetic practitioners who've had to close and will not reopen. And that's shocking. That's disgraceful. And that's the reason I decided to stand as a candidate for the Scottish elections in May. And as my son said to me at the weekend, he said, well, if you're standing, what's the pay like? And I said, it's not that good. And I think it's about 60,000 for the year. And he said, well, that's a decrease in what you earn already. And I said, yeah, it's at least half of what I earn as a lecturer going around the UK teaching aesthetics to medics and non-medics. But it's got to a point where somebody has to speak for our industry. You know, we've got these bodies, these so-called voluntary bodies such as HABIA and BABTAC and, you know, ABT and the so-called guild. And they're supposed to be out there fighting for us, and they're not. And, you know, if they are giving advice to the government, well, I'll tell you this right now, they're giving the totally wrong advice, and they obviously do not know what the actual industry consists of and how we are being affected on every level in our industry. And I will stand and I will get elected and I will fight. Not just, I mean, if you stand as a candidate, you stand for your regional area. My regional area is the Highlands and Islands, but I will be the voice for every single hairdresser, beautician and aesthetics practitioner, clinic, salon and mobile for Scotland. I will stand, I will fight your corner, and I will get my goddamn voice heard, and I will make sure that people understand in government that what they're doing is codswallop. It is utter bullshit the way they are treating us. And wow, I'm winding myself up now. I'm getting really, really cross. And one of the things, you know, if you don't know me, is I'm quite straightforward and to the point. You know, it's my best mate always says, I'm like Marmite, you either love me or hate me, because I don't brook any nonsense, and I'm straightforward. It's either right or it's wrong, and if you're wrong, duff, you're wrong, and I will fight for what is right. And I've frequently, for my community, fought for things, and I have won. And when it comes to getting in May and fighting for the industry, for each and every practitioner across Scotland, that's what I'll do. And if I have to go public as an MSP when I'm elected in, and I have to fight that corner social media wise, etc., I will. And I won't toe any party lines. I won't be told, no, you can't do this or you can't do that. That's why I'm standing for the Saving Scotland Party. It's a new party that's been formed, and it's not going to have a party whip. It's not, you know, you're not going to have to toe party lines. You do what's right for your community, your area, and, you know, that's important. And the fact that, as I've just said through this live, people are in the Highlands and Islands, it's in 6 months to today, we've just scratched the surface with the businesses, salons, hairdressers, aesthetics clinics. We've actually only scratched the surface in finding all of those emails and names of businesses, etc., because we were going to contact them and ask them how they've been affected, etc., etc. And we found out that 137 of them have been forced to close in the 6 months to today because of COVID and the fact that there's no support there. And that, as I said, is the tip of the iceberg. we haven't even got to the point where, you know, we've covered every salon across the Highlands and Islands. Now, if you look at the fact that there's thousands of small hairdressers, beauticians, aesthetics clinics, etc., across the Highlands and Islands, that's going to increase over the next couple of weeks. Those figures of businesses that have been forced to close, never to reopen, is going to increase drastically. Then put that in context across the whole of Scotland, and you can see how badly people have been affected in our industry. And we need to put a stop to this. We need to put a stop to this in May, on May the 6th. So, you know, if any of you on here are in my industry and you want your voice heard and you want your story told, then contact me. You know, message me on Instagram, message me on Facebook, tell me your story, tell me what you believe should be implemented to help secure your business, to secure your career. Okay, because frankly, the way things are going, even if, excuse me, the dog's barking. I'm just going to find out why the dog's barking. So I'm going to move you as I walk round, and I don't know what she's barking for. So, absolutely nothing. She's barking at nothing. Okay. Okay, so basically, as I said, 137 salons, hairdressers, aesthetics practitioners have been closed, forced to close in the past 6 months to today. And that's just the tip of the iceberg in the Highlands and Islands. And I dread to think in a week's time just what the stats will be when we've finally covered all of the salons and that in the Highlands and Islands. So I just thought I would come on and let you all know just how disgusting our industry has been treated, and that I'm going to fight the beauty industry's corner, and I'm going to get in, and I'm going to be an MSP for this, the Highlands and Islands, and get vocal. So hi to everybody that's joined. Lauren, Neil, Kelly, Jackie, Ober Aesthetics. Okay, so that's all I came on to say. I've been nominated to stand for a party. I've accepted that nomination. On March the 25th, I will submit my candidate papers for the election on May the 6th, and I will be standing as a regional candidate for the SSP, and basically I'm going to be the voice for hair, beauty and aesthetics across the Highlands and Islands as your regional MSP, but I will also be the voice for the beauty and aesthetics and hair industry across Scotland, and I will make sure that your voices get heard one way or another. By God, they're going to know that I've entered Parliament. So there you go. That's what I came on to say, because I'm frankly disgusted at the amount. I knew that there were businesses being closed, and it's not just our industry. There is a lot of industries where small businesses have been affected, etc. But my industry is where I can get the stats and figures, and you know, it's an area of expertise for me. I will still fight for everybody else and all other businesses when it comes to what's been occurring, but it was just the figures that we've managed to compile and collate that we got today, and you know, that's frightening. In less than 6 months to today, 137 businesses in my industry have been forced to close. I will come back on tomorrow or maybe again later, and don't forget the TTR Instagram page is going to start turning more political, because standing as an MSP candidate will mean that if I get elected, I will no longer be doing aesthetics and therapies and teaching, because I'll be full-time fighting our causes in Parliament. And I'm going to utilise this Instagram page as well as my Facebook and Twitter and that, and it over the next few weeks is going to become very much more politically based, going about and discussing issues that affect you, that affect the community. And I'm not just talking about the beauty industry. So if any of you have issues that you want to raise with me, feel free to raise them. Can't do anything until I'm elected in, but feel free to raise them, because it gives me, you know, it's like I'm going to be looking into the autism and how that affects children and parents and lack of funding in those areas. So we've already set up a Facebook group which is private for parents who have had major issues, who have been affected with homeschooling and no support for their children, and so on and so forth in that area. I'll also be fighting mental health issues and challenging the support structure and the framework and the lack of funding, especially since COVID. So all of these are areas that I am going to tackle over the coming weeks as we start campaigning in earnest to get me in. So if you want more information, or indeed you want to know how I'm going to support you and your family as an MSP candidate, let me know, okay? And feel free to share this live feed. Send some love and comments and things like that. We need to get this out there, okay? Righty ho, I'm going to love you and leave you all, and I will, it goes with my finger as I try to get myself logged off. So okay, that didn't work, did it? I always have a problem getting myself logged off when I come on Instagram. Oh dear. No, I didn't want to do that either. Hold on. Right. Oh, there we go. Okay. Gonna love you and leave you all. I will be back on probably later. If not, it'll be tomorrow. And I'll see you all then.